I do understand, but then when we take it up our website and all, it becomes an issue if all faces are visible. So we want to keep the cameras off.
Do you record it?
Yeah, we are recording it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, we are ready.
All right. Thank you, Vandita. So, hi everyone. Good evening. I'm Varidhi, and on behalf of Careers 360, I would like to welcome you all to this webinar on the careers in social sciences. So, a lot of times what happens is that we go and talk about the sciences and commerce, but somehow there's a veil of smoke that kind of covers the social sciences, and we do not talk about the social sciences as much as we should be. So keeping this in mind, we have organized this session for you, and we hope that you will go back with resolution to all your queries regarding pursuing a course or a career in social sciences. Our distinguished speaker for today is Dr. Divisha Sasidevan. It makes me very happy to introduce her to all of you. So having explored the social sciences extensively, Dr. Divisha completed her PhD from the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai. Her research interests lie in knowledge systems, environments, livelihoods, social constructions, livelihood vulnerabilities and development, and the like. She is currently assistant professor at the Center for Livelihood and Social Innovation at TIS Mumbai. Thank you so much, Dr. Divisha, for sparing your time and joining us today. Without any further ado, I would like you to take over and speak to the students. And students, once Dr. Divisha takes you through her presentation, please keep your questions ready because we'll throw open the floor for question answers between Dr. Divisha and you. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, I think some of Vinay has a question now.
We'll take it later. You can start the presentation.
Okay, great. So whoever doesn't have a problem with their faces coming on your website can come online. Yeah. Otherwise, you can keep your cameras off. Yeah. As Varidhi said, I'm Divisha, and I teach in the School of Social Work at Tata Institute of Social Sciences. I'll get you through the, I'll start with the presentation, but just in case, even between the presentation, you have something to ask, feel free to ask me. Yeah. We have 1 hour at hand. Okay. So hello. Yeah. What do you all know about, social sciences? Anyone? What do you all understand about social sciences? I'm sure you're all exposed to social studies. Yeah. So what do you think of social science?
So just an announcement, anyone who wants to interact with Dr. Divisha will have to use the reaction button to raise their hands, and we'll give them a chance to unmute. So if you want to answer, please use the reaction button.
Yeah. Varidhi, this is my style. It's better to interact so that I get a feel of the crowd and then, the class. And then
okay, that's completely okay. We just want them to raise their hands so that it just works in a structured way.
See, it's not a class. There's no grading. So it would be nice if anyone, what do you understand by social sciences? What do you think? Why are you all here? What do you want to know about social sciences? No one? Okay, then we'll stick to the presentation. Okay, what I would want to say is that there's a slight difference between, Varidhi, when she approached me on humanities and social sciences. Largely, it is a broader, concept or a broader area of, study. Now, when you look at humanities, there are studies, there are major studies which, which covers under humanities is arts, music, literature. There is 2 music that has come, I'm sorry, history, etc., etc. In social sciences, you'll have political science, you have anthropology, you have social work, that is social work. I'm a social work faculty, sociology, economics, etc., etc. Even for that matter, history comes, in social sciences. So these are aspects. So humanities and social science, it goes hand in hand, is what I want to try and tell you. Okay. Now, it's a vast discipline. बहुत ज़्यादा बड़ा है, ठीक है? And it's a generic term that we use in terms of social science. So when you look at social sciences, you actually, what we do is, in the different disciplines that are there within social science, what we do is that we study human society and its different constructs, how human society is constructed in different perspectives. So from an economic perspective, from a sociological perspective, some from a psychological perspective. Yeah. So how do people organize, behave, and affect change in the world that is surrounding us? That is what we study in social sciences. Okay. Now it helps to uncover the social issues that are there and our experiences, that are surrounding it, and subsequently how the functioning of the society is affected. I'll give you a small example. Say all of you know about demonetization. Yes, no? If you know, just maybe raise your hand. Demonetization के बारे में सुना है? Right? Yeah. Okay. Now, there is a lot of effect of demonetization. So, if you look at demonetization, it's about finance, it's about money, and how money was distributed or maybe taken away from the society, from the economic realm for people to use. 500 rupees ka note ban ho gaya, 1000 rupees ka note ban ho gaya. Now, what is the effect of that sort of economic policy intervention, which may be required and important in that particular time, or it had a logic during that time, but it affected a lot of people, and it did not affect all of us in equal ways. It affected us in different ways, right? A tribal community must have got affected in much larger way than maybe a person who is in the city. हम सब ने queue में, we were all on in waiting in the queue. Maybe your parents were waiting in the queue. We had difficulty to make sure that all the 500 notes that we had or 1000 notes we had to exchange it with the banks, etc. But think about people who are in the rural areas. Think about people who did not know about it. Yeah. So fast forward 2019, when I visited a tribal area, there were still old tribal people, people from a particular locality. I'm not going to mention which locality, somewhere in Kerala. Some of them still had 1,000 rupees note, and they said that koi mere se ye paisa nahi le raha hai. And what is the effect of that? So that is a savings for that person. Now, social science, basically, we have a clear understanding about the effect of multiple disciplines on human life per se, right? So I'm again going back to yeah, I'm again going back. So when we basically studied major concepts in terms of understanding multiple effects of these phenomenons in human life, right? Human society को वो कैसे affect होता है. So why is unemployment rising? Why is there poverty? What is mental health? Yeah, all this you come to know in terms of this larger realm of social sciences. So if you look at unemployment, a student of economics, might be studying about unemployment. Sociology might be studying about unemployment. Social work students, also study about unemployment, migration, etc. Poverty, the multiple dimensions of poverty we get to learn, and different disciplines have, learn within social sciences, learn about this. Mental health, psychology, so if you're interested in, helping people in terms of their issues, problems, etc., and you like to know the psyche of people, psyche of maybe even criminals, there is criminal psychology, there is industrial psychology. There are multiple areas in which you'll be able to sort of specialize. See, so it is a larger, fulcrum where governments basically function and formulate policies. Governments should be able to know that, हाँ, ठीक है, environment के लिए ये करना है, इसका policies ये होगा, education policy ये होगा. This there are people, experts, and groups, researchers who basically study about these things, right? And it's through this larger fulcrum of social sciences we even governments get to learn about it and understand about it, and policy gets influenced by it, or we make policies as such. So why social science? Why do you have to study? Why are you so interested? Or अगर थोड़ा ध्यान भी देना है क्या? Is it only about history, civics, geography, etc.? Right? That's what we're going to cover right now. So from an academic point of view, you have multiple career options instead of just locking yourself up with one specific career option. अगर आपको medicine agar aap le to, you'll have to study MBBS and you become a doctor, right? Now I'll give you an example of what I did. I took humanities. I took basically communicative English. After communicative English, I thought I'll do MBA. So that's management that falls under social sciences, and I thought I'll actually do MBA management. But then I realized that I was very interested in social work. I was interested in working with the people, communities, etc. So what happened was that for me, I sort of shifted it from that MBA to maybe I will go for civil service. Yeah. And then I realized that from civil service I got exposed to research, and I was very interested in research, and I was really enjoying teaching groups of people, students, etc. And I finally became a teacher in social work. I did my MPhil, PhD, and I've become a teacher in social work. So my point is, because I took social sciences, my perspective, my understanding about various opportunities within this was quite there. And also I was exposed to multiple career options. So you get to learn a very get to have an understanding about a broad range of social, cultural, economic, political, even psychological aspects of the society. How does people think? What is what is the psyche of a mob when they react in a certain way? What is the psyche of a leader? You get to learn these things through these various subjects as such. Now students, for you all, one of the things that I've seen with students in my classes, sometimes when they come from, say, engineering background, we have engineers who might come for a social work degree, masters. Yeah. What I've seen is that sometimes their perspective or their understanding about things might be slightly different, from a very positivist way, from a very logical way, which is important. But also it is important for us to think critically, think analytically, have those questions ready, have better communication in terms of communicating with communities, people, etc. Right? Research skills, evaluation, etc. All of these sort of improves with multiple subjects that you might be interested in with respect to social sciences as such, right? So I'll give you another example. Okay. We know that we are in a pandemic situation. That's why we are meeting like this. Otherwise, probably I would be, with you in one of the, Career 350 office, and maybe we'll have a one-to-one interaction, right? So how does viruses spread? Here, I would really like to know or interact with you all. How does viruses spread? We've been hearing a lot of things about coronavirus for the last so many, almost 2 years now, right? Anyone want to talk about it? How does virus spread? Have you thought about it? Yes, Shivika. Vadidi, can you unmute Shivika, or Yuvraj as well? Shivika has gone somewhere. I can't see her.
Pandita, can you please do that?
Yes, Yuvraj, please unmute yourself.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Yuvraj. Juliana.
Ma'am, are you talking about coronavirus or any viruses?
Any virus. Any virus. Specifically, if you want to give it the example of coronavirus, you can do that as well.
Ma'am, viruses spread through air and social interaction, like food, handshaking, water, etc.
Yeah, when coronavirus hit the world, okay, we were still crowding like what we see in this cartoon, isn't it, Yuvraj?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Right? We did not know. I mean, largely the society did not know that it can spread this way. Yeah, we did not know how fast it can spread. But I'll tell you one thing. In public health, document, it's very clearly written that viruses can spread through flights, airways. The entire world is connected by airways. Yeah. So there are studies which actually says, it is already written in the book. WHO knew about it. Every one in the health sector probably knows about it, but we really did not know on hand, if something happens, how would it happen? And it happened. We are all affected by it, right? Many people are affected by it more, Like, for instance, people's livelihoods are affected, fisher folks, farmers, yeah, daily wage workers, rag picking, women and men, yeah, sanitation workers, all of them are really affected, right? So it spreads, but we did not really know how it is going to spread, though we had that, in the document. Okay, so maybe experts knew about it, but we were not able to really translate into, the kind of immediate, SOPs that we really needed to develop. But we have come a long way. Now we are not wearing masks. We know that social distancing should happen. Yeah, many of you know that if we are in a crowded place, we might have to wear mask, etc., etc. Now all this work is actually done by a social science expert, not just science facts, but how do we translate that into people? A social worker may be able to do that through awareness. And how do we do awareness? Yeah, how maybe if you have to talk to migrant workers, would you talk to them in English? Yeah, would you talk to them in their own language? Yeah. Yes, Anubha, you can maybe unmute yourself, I suppose. Anubha? Anubhav, I can't hear you.
Oh.
Okay, so these are, I'll come back. Okay, if you have a question, you can keep it there. Okay, the host is disabled from sharing. Host, you have to able me to share my screen.
Yes, ma'am, I would just request you to please keep the sharing on, because otherwise students, they start sharing their screen if you don't share it.
We'll ask them not to. I would want to stop and see them. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm doing it. It would be comfortable for me.
Yeah, I've given you the access.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so so what happens is that this entire concept that I'm just telling, how does virus spread? Yeah, we have a document in the public health document. It is clearly mentioned. Yeah, but people know about it? So someone studies about it. Understanding society, how does society function, along with what is their scientific, how does virus spread, and how do people have to probably behave in a particular way or conduct in a particular way. It is required. So multiple disciplines have to come together, and social science gives a better perspective in terms of how to do it in a society. Yeah, unless and until we understand how the community would work, how a society works, we wouldn't be able to do it. So it's a very important job as a social scientist, that if you are actually taking up or you're trying to spread your wings, not just in science but social science, it's a very important work that you'll all be engaging in. So there are various branches to social sciences: anthropology, history, archaeology, human geography, economics, law, multiple. I'll actually come to it just now. So what is anthropology? People past and present, so study of the people past and present. History, the study of human history, archaeology, again, human pass through recovery and analysis of material culture. Human geography, relationship between people and places. Yeah, economics, we study about production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services. Yeah, law, legal systems that you would be engaging in. Development studies, so evolution of countries from socioeconomic, cultural, political, and geographic perspectives. Philosophy, it's the nature of existence. International relationships, about between nations and culture, what is the relationship again? So like that, you have multiple things. And one subject that I am very my expert area is social work. So it's a study of social problems and social interventions. So practice-based profession it is. Like law, it is a practice-based profession. Psychology, it's a practice-based profession. You study about human mind and behavior, and you interact with clients, individuals who require mental health support. So the same way in social work, we work on multiple things on social. We promote social change, development, empowerment of people, etc., etc. Yeah. So all these sciences, social sciences, I was talking about. When you look at me as a professor, or me as someone who is working in the field, yeah, I work on multiple disciplines. Say, for instance, one of my interest areas is migration, and very recently, 31st of March, we were able to do something like migration issues. आपको पता है lockdown के time पे कितना हुआ था. And we started one project with the National Health Mission. So imagine social work, livelihoods and social innovation है मेरा center. हमने health के साथ we started working, and we were doing a field action project, and it got institutionalized. Like for instance, on 31st of March, basically it was institutionalized in the Collectorate of Ernakulam, where they opened up an office for migrant workers. It's the first in the country and maybe even in the world, right? So a lot of field initiatives which can make sure that there is more inclusion, more of diversity, spread the tolerance of diversity, and making sure that people have access to their rights and access to resources. Such an office can do a lot of wonders, right? So that's not just because of social work, but it's also because of the multiple convergence between different government departments, like National Health Mission, there was Legal Services Authority, etc. So if you look at it, legal, if you're studying law, a person from law, from social work and health was able to sort of come together and work towards a system that could be more inclusive for a particular group of people, which is the migrants in Ernakulam district, right? So as I said, there's like lot of options, multiple options that you will have. So I'll give you a few. Okay. Now, if you are a political scientist, you have studied political science, you've taken a bachelor's in political science, you can work with universities. You can work with government, you can work with labor organizations, you can work with think tanks, you can work with other academic institutions and non-profit organizations, right? If you're an economist, again, you work with the government, so you can predict funding, spending needs, all this is there. You work with policies and laws. You can work with national economic aspect. You can also work with universities. You have professors, right? Industrial organizational psychologist, again, wide range of departments you can work with. You can work with administration, marketing. You can work with human resources, sales, etc. Now these are all very quite well-paid jobs. Sociologist, again, you can work in universities, you can work with research and development, you can work with management, consulting firms, etc. Other than this, you can work as an urban planner, regional planner, geographer. You can be a assistant professor or a teacher. You start with assistant professor, then you become associate professor, etc. You can be a research analyst, social worker, geologist, museum curator, multiple options. Yeah. Anthropologist, lawyer, yeah, oceanographic, manager, not oceanographer, but oceanographic manager. So you can be a, language interpreter, you can be a statistician. So the opportunities with respect to jobs are multiple. It's just that you need to know what is your interest level. Yeah, it's very important to know what your interest levels would be. So for me specifically, I initially thought, okay, I am good with management. I really love, I know how to make money, and it would be really interesting to work in in a place like Tata's, the company. And maybe I thought, I'll do an MBA and get in for Tata Administrative Service. I was very specific. I knew, this is what I wanted to do. But then I got exposed to working with NGOs, and I thought, okay, this is not bad. I really like, social work. And then I further got exposed to research, and that's when I understood that maybe I can do further studies. Mostly people might study till masters, right? But then I thought, okay, maybe I should do further studies, and here I am. So in terms of the opportunities I personally had as a young student was enormous, because I knew there is a world beyond the sciences. But science is also connected to the sort of work that we are doing here. So you have to understand, okay, maybe how the virus spreads. The basic understanding you might need to have. Then you need to understand how it spreads in a society, and how what are the things that you might have to look into. How does a vaccine work? If there is vaccine hesitancy, लोगों को vaccine नहीं लेना है, but spread बहुत ज़्यादा हो रहा है. People have to be made aware about the same, right? That awareness part would be a work of maybe a social worker, a development practitioner from with a social science background, right? But it is important to know that it is also interacting with the other sides of multiple other disciplines. So there is no duality, there is no binary of social science hai or science hai. No, you are specializing in something that you're very interested in. Yeah. So I would really love to know what your interests are, and if there are any questions with respect to social sciences and the sort of opportunities that you have, and then we will take that forward. Is that okay?
Yes, students, if anyone wants to ask any question from ma'am, please raise your hand and we will ask you to unmute. Ma'am, there's a question from Yuvraj. Please unmute yourself, Yuvraj.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, you are talking about interest. Then I have interest in history, na, ma'am. But I want to earn money, so I would like to choose economics. Then what I should do, ma'am?
Okay. So see, I would ideally say there is a lot of work that you can do even with whichever area that you choose. Okay. See, you are looking at history. Okay. As you said, you can work in multiple spaces. This is where I want to bring. There were a few questions that I wanted to cover further. Say, imagine if you get through to a university which is really good at the department is good in history or sociology or anthropology. Okay. You get the best of networks and best of teachers and best of opportunities, even as a BA student, across the world, across India. So ideally, I would say if you're really interested in, say, economics, Stephens is a very good college, right? If you're really interested in, history, what history you want? World history? Is it, Indian history? Is it even American history for that matter? Depending on that, you choose your college. And while when you choose your college, you'll know that there are multiple options as a historian. As are you good at writing? Is it just history that you're interested in? Within history, you can actually take a subsidiary subject which might be economics. Yeah. So you should think both ways. You should actually think about what are the multiple opportunities that can come with it, and look at the best possible opportunity that you can take in terms of the educational institutions. Say, for instance, you want to do public health, and the public health in Harvard is really good. Okay. You want to do social work, the best in the country, could be even TISS. It's 1936 mein shuru hua tha social work ka. So then you get into the best institutes, get exposed to the skills and techniques that you would have to learn. Yeah. And opportunities will come by your way. If you start thinking, okay, mujhe ye karna hai kyunki mujhe paisa banana hai, and if you don't enjoy it, how is that? And if you're not really going to be good at it, and if you won't, you'll end up not being really good at it if you're not. Yeah, I'm just giving you a instance. Then you won't, throughout your life you have to do this work is part of your life. So it is important that you try and get the best opportunity possible. Yeah, best doesn't mean that say if you get through to Mumbai University, history is not good there. It is good there, but it's also the effort that you'll have to put in terms of the extra readings that you'll have to do, the interactions that you'll have to do, and look at multiple opportunities in terms of maybe university, cross internship programs and other things that you'll be able to expose yourself with. This is the best years of your life. So choose very wisely. If you like economics, even if you take history, you can have a subsidiary subject. Look at universities that would give you both. Okay. And you'll be able to, look into it. Even if you take history, you can look into getting into maybe civil service, getting into government jobs, getting into research jobs, etc. You can get into multiple things. You can get into even writing for that matter if you're interested in that. So history doesn't mean that aap historian hi banenge. Multiple options are there. I've been giving you that example. So if you're interested in it, go to the best place possible. You have to do your bit of research. Careers 360 can help you. I may be able to help you. A lot of things are there, but make sure that you do your bit of research and get into the best place possible. Now, as I said, best places also, even if you're at the best place, doesn't mean that you can't do that self work. You have to keep doing that self work. That self motivation should be there, and apply for opportunities. So I would always say, look at what you really want and then go ahead with it. Yeah. I have always done that. Yeah. I hope I answered your question, Yuvraj. Okay, Yuvraj, maybe you can unmute yourself and then be there if when you're asking questions. Okay, anyone else? I can see quite a few hands.
Uh,
Okay, anyone from Varidhi or someone, can you unmute the students so that they can talk to me, or can you give me access so that I can unmute them? Hello. Okay, I don't know what's happening. Varidhi? Okay, students, we'll have to wait. I'm not able to unmute you guys. If you can unmute yourself, you can unmute and then talk to me. Okay, I think now you can unmute yourself. Yuvraj, have I answered your question? Someone from Careers 360, can you just unmute Yuvraj?
Dr. Divisha, can we do one thing? Can you just carry on with your presentation for?
I think the presentation is done. The presentation is
done?
done.
Okay. Can you continue? Speaking to the students for 2 minutes while I'm sorting this out. It's a technical issue. Just give me 2 minutes.
Okay. Varidhi ma'am, I'm there in the meeting. It's okay. I have taken. Yeah. Yes. Ma'am, I've unmuted Yuvraj. I think he has muted himself back. And move on to the next question. There are many students waiting.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Yes. Jason, can you please unmute yourself?
Yes, ma'am. My question was more surrounding psychology, like the field psychology, and what would be the curricular and the job opportunities which can.
What psychology?
Like clinical psychology, or what would be the difference between experimental psychology and clinical psychology? Like, what would be the job opportunities in both the difference?
Okay, so see, for instance, you have to understand that NIMHANS is one of the spaces where you will be able to apply in terms of psychology. Okay, for clinical psychology, you need to have a science background. So if you've taken science, you can apply for that. Yeah, you can be a psychologist. You will be able to do an analysis in terms of looking at what different issues, mental health issues people are having, etc. Now, there's also counselors, social workers can also be, part of, psychology, etc., etc. But there, you're not practicing as a in the medical realm. I mean, you are there, but you're interacting with people. You are finding out their issues. You're counseling them, etc. You cannot have, you do not have. You cannot basically prescribe any medicines either, or in any cases you can't prescribe a medicine. It's only a psychiatrist who can do that. Okay, now there are multiple options where if you are a clinical psychologist, you will be able to work. Say if you, for instance, from a very specific issue of, like, have you heard about Alzheimer's? Jason, unmute yourself when you're talking to me. Alzheimer's, have you heard about Alzheimer's? Jason?
Yes, ma'am, I have. Yes, ma'am.
So you don't have to mute yourself. It can be an interaction. So when you look at actually Alzheimer's patients, you may have to have people who can support the family members. Okay. Now, psychologists can actually work in multiple realms. So it can be an old age home, where it can be a hospital setting. It can be, maybe clinics where psychologists would be working hand in hand. There are also clinical psychology, basically it is in the clinical setting per se. Okay, now there are also spaces where you will be able to work with respect to community mental health. For instance, there is this space in Kozhikode. It is called MHAT, Mental Health Action Trust. Okay. So again, psychologists and psychiatrists working together in terms of community health. They give online access to mental health, and all that, as well as community mental health. So there are multiple options, even in an organizational setting. There is industrial psychology. So you actually learn specifically that you'll be working with different departments and then working with people, enhancing their growth, enhancing what they can do, etc. So there are multiple options there. Clinical setting में क्या है? You'll be working hand in hand with doctors and psychiatrists, specifically. I hope I've cleared. NIMHANS is one space in Bangalore, which is one of the best. There are multiple spaces, that in India as well as abroad. So one thing I want to tell all of you that if you're applying anywhere abroad, the course is extremely expensive. So you will have to make sure that you apply for scholarships. So you apply for a course, it is easy to get through. It's not very difficult. Yeah. But you have to understand that, you have to apply for scholarships. It's not always the best choice to basically, take a bank loan and then go and study. See whether there are, scholarships that would at least cover half your, half or even full expenses, fee expenses, etc. So, Jason, with respect to you, you have multiple colleges across the world that, again, I told you about Harvard. There is Oxford, there is, University of California, there is, Berkeley University. I mean, these are all, again, in Europe as such. Netherlands, there are multiple universities, Sweden, and multiple spaces where, psychology as a subject, maybe the research and other things are done in a much advanced way. Even here, for that matter, NIMHANS is one of the spaces that people apply to. There are other universities as well which are really good. Yeah. As I again told, best doesn't mean that you have to look at the most top university, otherwise you won't get education at all. It's also that you can look into other universities which have opportunities, how the faculty is, what are the different what are the different opportunities that you will get from within these spaces. You will have to do a little bit more sort of research on that. In terms of experimental psychologists, with respect to research, you can take different research designs. Okay. So psychology, if you're actually looking at it, and if you are a psychology student, and if you have research as part of your coursework, you will be taking up multiple research designs. Okay. So it can be experimental or otherwise. Now, psychologists per se might be also working on human behavior, etc. Organizations, there are organizations that studies human behavior. So again, a psychologist working on that, say for health, for instance, women's use of how does women use say sanitary products. Okay. Do they buy, why is that they are buying it? So it's not just the market research, it's also studying a population. Yeah. So looking at what is their psychology while spending, etc. There's a lot of research that can go into that as well. So in multiple areas, human psychology is basically used, and you have multiple opportunities from this with respect to corporate sector, to hospital sector, to even a clinical setting in a school, to maybe a center for Alzheimer's or palliative care. All these spaces you will have opportunities. Yeah. And government jobs as well. I hope I've answered your question, Jason. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, ma'am. Srishti, can you please unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Srishti.
As you said to you,
I can't hear you. Srishti, I can't hear you.
hello.
Hi.
As you said, there are enormous field in social sciences. As I explore the field, I get attracted by each of one of them. So basically, how do I find my actual or real interest?
Okay, so there are courses, honors, के लिए social sciences करके, you can take honors, and there are multiple options in that. So as Yuvraj was saying, even if you take history, there are other options. Now with the new national education policy, there will be a lot of universities that will start courses in humanities and social sciences. Largely, it will be covering most subjects. Okay. So if you're interested, if you want to know, if you want to understand, have an understanding or a broader understanding about social sciences, you can take one of such courses and see which is that you want to specialize in. One thing with respect to social science is that for masters, ideally you will be able to apply to any of the masters courses. Yeah. So for instance, I did communicative English. I could apply for management. It is not a problem. Yeah. Say I may have to do a BCom to do a MCom. That is there. Yeah. Commerce agar main lu, to ideally I can do that. But for an MBA, etc., even if I was from communicative English, I could have actually accessed it. So that's not an issue at all. So ideally, I would say, because you have multiple interests, you're very interested in everything. Look at a university that will actually provide you with an array of say opportunities, which is like maybe social sciences, social science honors or humanities honors. Yeah, where you'll be able to cover a lot more subjects, and then by the end of 3 years, you'll understand, or you'll understand which is that you're really interested in, and you can specialize in that. I hope I've covered cleared your question. Srishti? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I think she has some network issues. We can move on to the next one. Okay. Fek Shirasya, please unmute yourself.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
Yes, I want to know that in which Indian institutes which are providing psychology honors.
I can't hear you.
Psychology honors in Indian institutes and in India only.
Yeah, even in India there are multiple. I just named NIMHANS. Yeah, but say for instance, I think it's Women's Christian College in Chennai. Yeah. Amrita Vidyapeeth is one. I can only I'm just able to think. TISME, there is courses in terms of psychology, etc. Multiple universities, most state universities will have, state and central universities will have these courses. Yeah. One thing you need to understand is that it is BA. So when you do that, you're actually trying to strengthen your understanding of a very broad subject. Psychology is also very broad. And so it is okay to actually apply to any of these universities and have a in-depth understanding about this. And within that, there'll be multiple other subcategories, subsectors, subjects that could be very specific. So you want to maybe specialize in, say, for instance, industrial psychology, but you'll be studying about industrial psychology, clinical psychology, and everything in, psychology as such. But when you do your master's later on, after completing your bachelor's or BSc, then you will be able to actually take up your master's in specific, subject. India most universities have it. Yeah, most universities. So all you have to do is go to each of those university ka naam. Like for instance, if you're in Bombay, look at Mumbai University, check whether they have it. If it is private, check whether they have it in, Amity or some other universities, Amrita or some other universities. Check what it is. Yeah, and most of these universities also will have a exam. Okay, like for instance, TIS have TIS exams. Yeah, TISnet hai. The same way you might have to write. So if it is management, there is maybe CAT, MAT, all that. Yeah, the same way some specific universities will also have applications and exams. So that you need to be clear. It is not, and there are common exams also. Central universities ke liye common exams bhi hai. That it's available in UGC website. You can look at University Grants Commission website. You can look at specific universities websites also. Okay, I hope I've covered it.
Dr. Divisha, if you don't mind, could I just add on to what you've shared with Shirasya? Yes. Shirasya, if I have to help you with the names of a few particular universities which are doing very well in terms of UG courses in psychology, then I would probably say Delhi University. It's doing very well. Then there is Ambedkar University in Delhi, which you can target. It's a Delhi State University. Then there is Christ in Bangalore, which is doing very well, and Chandigarh University also for that matter. And apart from that, yes, every state has some very good universities. But if I had to name a few, I would really help you with this.
Yes, thank you. So, ma'am, it is compulsory to have science stream for clinical psychology?
Yeah, it would. Yes, there are cases where people have done otherwise, but they do look into science streams specifically because as I said, you'll be working in a clinical setting, and science is something that they do look into. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? See, it is really nice that you will be like. For instance, this is a coaching institute, so it's really nice that you'll get help. But before getting the help, I would ideally say that go to different university spaces, read through it, then talk to maybe Varadhi or one of your other teachers and ask them, okay, are these universities good? This is what I said, some self-learning about different courses. Okay, maybe I like history. Within history, these are the things that I'm really interested in, ma'am. So which could be the courses? Like now Varadhi mentioned DU, she mentioned Ambedkar University. All these are good universities. Yeah, but apart from that, maybe you might be looking at something in Maharashtra. So do a little bit of research. Talk to one of your teachers, and it would you will have much more broader understanding about what you would want to do. So a little bit of reading online or otherwise would be really helpful. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else?
Yes, ma'am, the next question is from Rohit. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, good evening, ma'am.
Yeah, hi.
Could you let me know who is an interpreter and linguistics and what's the difference between them?
Linguistics and entrepreneur. Rohit, is it linguistics and entrepreneur?
It's interpreter, language interpreter.
Interpreter. Okay. Language interpreter and so linguistics is a person who basically studies about languages, okay, and people and culture and how it affects one another, etc., etc. And linguistic studies is huge. You can actually study about. There's a lot of research that happens. I think it is FES in Hyderabad. Maybe you can ask Varidhi. That's not my area specifically, but who does a lot of research in terms of linguistic studies. So study about languages. Yeah.
It's English and Foreign Languages University in Hyderabad. No?
Yes. Foreign Languages University. And when it comes to a linguistic a student who has studied linguistics can also become a interpreter. So if you for that matter, if you've actually studied say German, yeah, or French for that matter, and you can become an interpreter with multiple corporates setting, with government settings, even with respect to even UN. There are language interpreters. If you have seen UN ka body, there are multiple people who come from different countries, right? So they interpret. They basically keep a headphone so that they can understand English, what is spoken in a different language, or if it is spoken Marathi there, then it would be translated into whichever language it is. So there are interpreters who actually do that. And through technology, it is dispersed to multiple state heads and officials. So multiple opportunities with respect to what language you learn, okay, and with that skill you will be using it for interpreting in terms of the the language that is not spoken by someone. And with respect to that, there are multiple opportunities. Yeah. Also, linguists can become translators as well. Yeah. So for instance, they study, understand, say, maybe for instance, a book that is written in Marathi. Yeah. They might translate into some other language. Understand, because someone who understands the language and has an interpretation about it. So there are again multiple, options. So linguistics is a larger aspect. Within that, and linguistic interpreter would be interpreting languages. And, as I said, UN is one space where you'll be able to work with. Yeah. In a space where you can actually work in. WHO, multiple other spaces, even corporates, etc. Okay. I hope I've answered your question.
Ma'am, can I apply for foreign, like other countries also by doing
Of course you can.
by doing colleges and university in India, and can I apply afterwards in other countries?
I didn't get you, Rohit.
Like doing my degrees and all in India, and can I apply for after foreign countries?
Apply for your masters.
Masters for my job opportunities and all.
For job opportunities, see, ideally with UGC, if you're actually applying for any course here in India, you can't do work while doing your course, whether it's bachelor's or master's.
No, after that I'm talking about.
After that you can. After that, of course, you can.
And with the emergence of AI, translator jobs can't be equipped by AI, or would it be like the scopes?
You're not clear. I'm not able to hear you properly. I'm sorry.
Artificial intelligence is coming around, so the job opportunities for translators and all would be there, or
but that is actually done by someone, no? Who interprets that? The voice of Siri was given by who?
Okay, ma'am, got it.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am, moving on, there's a question from Amit. Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
One minute, Amit. One thing, Rohit, you need to understand is that whatever it might be, yeah. So if you can translate, Google Translate can actually basically translate an entire book. Yeah, something written in Hindi can be translated into English, okay, or some communication that we are having can be translated. But if you try to do that, if you want to translate this into some other language, it can be done. But the point is that there's a lot of mistakes that happen. So the human interaction is very important. So there is, we cannot undermine what a human-to-human interaction, can bring forward. So whatever said and done, yeah, there is importance in the sort of human connection that we might have. Otherwise, I can record this and send it to you all. No, why is that we are having an interaction? Yeah. So rest assured, you don't have to worry about it. Okay. The next person can ask question.
Amit, please unmute us. Okay, Amit is unmuting, so we can move on to Riddhi. Unmute and answer.
Hello.
You? Can you hear me?
Hello.
Yeah, ma'am, am I audible to you?
You are audible, but the students, whoever has.
Yeah.
Hello.
Amit? Yes.
Hello. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Amit.
Ma'am, I'm from Delhi, and this year I'm preparing for my CUCET, and then I will gonna apply for applied psychology honors. So, what would be the job opportunities, and what should I do after UG in applied psychology and counseling career?
See, again, this is again very specific to psychology, but you for sure, once you complete, you can actually do an internship with, a firm, yeah, which applied psychology is. It has multiple areas of, what do you say, interpretation as such. So the point is that you'll ideally, I would say that's something that we don't see, but because it's a practice-based occupation, yeah, it is important that many of you can actually do your internship with organizations that are really good at it, right? So say for instance, if Delhi may, you can actually look at a space where a mental health organization or a space of maybe education setting. Try and do an internship there. That is one thing. Okay. So in with respect to that, post-graduation, yeah, once this is done, you will actually know which area you want to specialize in. So some of the areas that, applied psychology can, you can look into is clinical psychology or counseling. So if it is counseling that you're interested in, then go for an internship in counseling. If it is, say, industrial and organizational psychology, then, go for an internship with an organization, working in that. Or if it is legal psychology, then that. If it is occupational health psychology, that. So doing a short internship would really help, 3 to 6 months or whatever. During this time, you can actually apply to, multiple universities, not just here, even abroad for that matter. Say, for instance, if it is community, psychology, if it is, school psychology, if it is sports psychology, specifically, you will be able to apply to specific courses. So what your interest would be, accordingly, you will be, able to look into the opportunities that
are there government jobs?
Of course, there are government jobs. Say, for instance, sports psychology, your entire, cricket team, your football team. Huh?
Counseling psychology for.
If it is counseling psychology, also government hospitals may, there are psychology, there are departments, psychology department for that matter. Yeah.
Sorry. Can I add on a bit, Divisha?
Yes.
Yeah. So as Divisha said, so there are opportunities with the government, Amit, in hospitals, in schools as well. So all government schools open up vacancies for school counselors. You can always look at applying, and they are supposed to be specialists in counseling psychology. Also, at this point, I would like to suggest that if you are appearing for your CU, if you are appearing for the QET and are looking at applying for a UG in psychology, don't limit your option to just applied psychology, because there is only a hairline of a difference between applied psychology and general basic psychology. Yeah. Go for the better institution, whether it is applied psychology or general psychology, right? And the options that you will get in the future will not be, different from each other. So aim for the better institution, whether you get a general psychology course or an applied psychology course at the UG level. Don't limit yourself to just an applied psychology course. I hope I'm conveying.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, what were the provisions for abroad in careers in psychology?
Varidhi, maybe you can, because this is specifically on psychology, you can look up, you can actually help
Amit,
them out with...
Amit, what we can do is, at the end of the session, we'll let you know of our email ID. You can drop us an email and we'll connect over that, right?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Too specific to be answered in this session. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Dipanita, next, please.
Yes. Riddhi, can you please unmute yourself?
So, good evening, ma'am. This is Riddhi here. My area of interest, as you said, is international relations and diplomacy. So, my first question to you is, as a professor, would you recommend me to go for bachelor's in international relations or have a bachelor's in economics or political science?
I would recommend you to go specifically in, either pol science or economics. I think it is important for us to have some crux on, specifically a core subject. You'll have an understanding. Now, within that, as Varidhi was, mentioning to the previous student, you don't have to limit yourself to, if you're very clear, if, you want to apply for applied psychology, it's okay. But otherwise, you just need to see which is the best. So ideally, I would say, look at economics, look at, pol science. Yeah, you'll have an understanding of a core subject, and that would really strengthen your base. And from within this, you will be able to, go for any master's course that you can possibly think of. So if you're still interested in, international relations, you will be able to take it up as a pol science student or as an economics student. So I don't think you should limit yourself with, international relations. But if you are well read and if you're very clear that that is what you want to do, that is also okay. But your options then becomes limited. For future course of thing, it becomes limited. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine had actually taken psychology, and later she didn't want to do her master's in psychology as such. She was not interested in psychology at all. So ideally, what she should have done is, applied psychology, and specifically, she had looked into clinical psychology, etc. That was a specialization. She had done a research, etc. But later on, she understood that that's not what she wanted to do. She ended up not doing a master's, but ended up doing an MBA and getting into industrial psychology and other things. Yeah. But then it gets slightly limited, more confusing, etc., etc. So it's better to have a core subject understanding, strengthen your core, and then look at the opportunities that are there for your post graduation. I hope I've answered your question, Riddhi.
Dr. Divisha, do we have more time? Can we take a few more questions?
Maybe 5 more minutes.
All right, we'll take the last 2 questions, Dipanita.
Yes, ma'am, the next question is from Sangeeta. Please unmute yourself.
Sangeeta.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, Sangeeta.
Hi, I'm speaking on behalf of my daughter. She's not been able to sit for the call, for the session. Thank you so much. It has been very nice to hear so many things about different areas under social sciences.
Yeah.
So my issue is this. Recently, my daughter told me that there is something called environmental psychology, and she was asking me how to go about it and what are the career aspects. I couldn't find much details about this course. So I was, because she's quite interested in this environmental aspects of it. So I was wondering if you could just, guide me on that.
Okay, so just ask her why she's interested in per se environmental psychology. There are environmental studies, as such, ma'am. So environmental psychology is an interdisciplinary, area as such. So you can work again in community settings. You can work within NGOs. You can work within government organizations. You can work even in corporate sector. Because one works on spaces where, say for instance, a cement factory is coming in a community setting. Yeah. How does it affect the livelihoods of the people is something that one has to work within. So my opportunities are there, not just within say for instance legal setup, but also within a corporate setting, also within colleges. There are research work that is done, etc. But I would ask her not to limit it, herself with just environmental psychology, but maybe on environmental studies itself. So within that, she'll be able to look at multiple other options. Even my environmental psychology is an MSc, course. So she can even go for specifically environmental psychology later on when after her bachelor's as such.
Yeah, so, I don't think they're offering environmental psychology in the graduation level. It's only in the post graduation. Okay. But so, I actually wanted to know if there are career options available. That is why I asked you the question, because
I understood. Yeah. So specifically as such, what I've seen is that there are highly paid. These are highly paid jobs. So you can look at environmental psychologists who work in health educator, environmental health educator. There'll be research work that research professionals working on environmental psychology, environmental sciences, etc. There are environmental professors so working on environment per se. That is there. So there's also planners, environment and say community, as I said. So planners are there. There is market analyst, research analyst, again coming as part of research analyst, a subsector of research, but environmental research analysts are there. And there are safety managers in say within corporate settings like a factory, etc., etc. So that's health and safety managers, which is again environmental psychologists. Climate, and environment. So psychologist again is there. So there's multiple options. It's just that we don't see it. Social, psychologist. All these are, options that your daughter would be able to take. Researcher, specialist, ecologist, energy, manager. Multiple options are there. It's just that we are not used to hearing about these in our day-to-day lives, but options, rest assured, it is there. And if she takes the best universities or best options possible, I'm sure she's going to get a lot of opportunities. I hope I've answered.
Thank you so much. You've cleared my doubt. Thank you so very much.
Okay, ma'am, we will take the last question from Kusumita Rao. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, Kusumita.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Ma'am, I'm very much interested in sociology.
Okay.
And I want to get into Tata Institute.
Okay. So we have development. So we have only a single bachelor's course as of now. Okay, that is in Tuljapur, and that is something that you'll have to aim at. And there is a exam that is an all India exam that is there for it. That is the only option that is available as of now in Tata Institute. Masters ke liye, if you're interested, you can apply for development studies. That is one option. And there are social systems that is there in JNU, sociology specifically in Hyderabad Central University, DU, etc. That is there. But as of now, as an undergraduate course, this has only one option that is there. That is in Tuljapur campus, not in Mumbai campus. Yeah. I hope I've answered your question.
Excuse, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, can you give me an idea about career options after pursuing my degree, ma'am, in sociology?
Okay. So as I said, you can work in universities, you can work in research and development, you can work in management and consulting firms. Yeah, these are the multiple areas, or sociologists are working in these areas. So sociology basically is a study of the society as such, right? So most spaces in terms of research, development, management, consulting, universities, you will actually find career opportunities per se. Even there are multiple government jobs also for that matter for sociologists as such. Yeah. And specifically again, if you look at you really have to see what are the what is your interest, where do you really want to sort of work. It really depends on that. So some of the top careers, if you look at it, you can work as a social worker. For that matter, you take social work, and then later on you can work on that. You can work on family issues. You can work on criminology. You can work on gender. So you're a gender audit ke liye, there are managers. There are professional roles that you can take up. You can be a policy analyst. You can be multiple roles. And options are there. Yeah, so for some of these things, a BA, MA in psychology is required. A sociology person also later on can even do maybe something like a journalism. So you'll have a good grasp of understanding the society, and then with some of the journalistic skills, you'll be able to write. There are specific people working on community level journalism, etc. You can be a family counselor. You can be you can get into rehabilitation counseling. You can do research. Yeah. HR, takes up sociologist as well. You can be a policy analyst. I've already told you. You can multiple options are there.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Divisha, for sparing your time and agreeing to be a part of this session. I'm very sure it was immensely beneficial and fruitful for everyone who has attended it. Students, thank you so much for joining in. Just to let you know, we have multiple other sessions lined up for you, touching upon different aspects of higher education, both in India and abroad. Like we had this one on social sciences. We have another one coming up on psychology. We have another one coming up on space sciences very soon. Please stay tuned to Careers 360/premium to get information about all our upcoming webinars. And once again, thank you so much, Dr. Divisha, and all the students, and wish you all the very best.
So all of you, all the best. Yeah. And follow what you really love doing. Do a little bit of research. Don't always depend on your teachers or parents. Do your research and then have a dialogue with whoever is accessible, someone in Career 360 or your parents or your teachers. And all the best for your future. It's very exciting, and do something that you really love, and be really good at it, and you'll really excel in whatever you want to become. Yeah. So all the best. Take
Thank
care.
you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. One last thing for everyone. If you have any more questions, please feel free to drop us an email on info@careers360.com, info, and one of our team members will get back to you with all your answers. Thank you so much. All the best, and we'll end the meeting.
Bye.
Bye, ma'am. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.